Hello to everyone everywhere. We are back. This is part 3 of building the Prometheus. Off camera, we've done some tidying up, some filling. Filled in this cavity here on the starboard side, and this cavity here on the port side. This connects to the bridge module like so, as I'm now demonstrating, but it isn't a clean fit, so there's going to be a lot of finessing, contouring, filing, sanding, the usual. So that is the order of that little project in itself, so to speak. Again, these contacts, all of this is going to have to go, so off camera we'll probably file away all of those contacts because they're just not very good. Not very good at all. But yes, this has been filled in. The walls are quite substantial. It should withstand any handling. As I mentioned in part 1 and part 2, I was thinking of boxing these in, but it just wouldn't work in terms of the model's flexibility, because it would make aspects of the model too rigid, and I still need a certain amount of flex in that, in terms of gluing things together. Inside here I've filled in with putty. I'm going to take that back, send that back, so it's going to be rock solid, this now. This is a tough join, so there'll be no issues with that coming apart whatsoever. So yeah. As with the top, I still haven't put a reinforcing brace in. That's going to be another job we're going to do in this video, or will be shown in this video. Off camera, I've started work on the nuclear ion engines. If you remember, I mean, you can still see through the perspex how transparent the original casting is, but with the perspex, which is about, what, 2 millimeters thick, it's reinforced this shell, this casting, so when the engines are mounted, this isn't going to collapse, it isn't going to cave in, it isn't going to snap off, so it's pretty robust now. So we'll be able to drill a hole through here, and lead our wires through to connect to the main body. So that's quite heavy actually, you can tell by the wire that it's really quite substantial now. I had problems lining all these up. I'm dyslexic, so getting these engine pods to match up and the instructions was not daunting, not terribly daunting, but it did leave me scratching my head once or twice. So I've marked everything up. What I've realised, these engines are actually in reverse. I've got to stop knocking this mic, it's not very good. So the engines, once they're mounted, are actually like this. They face each other like that, whereas I had originally marked them up like this, and they are obviously, that was obviously wrong, so that they're not mounted that way. So what I have here are two starboard engine modules. So all four engines are now reinforced with the perspex, or the plexiglass, as some may call it. So she's going to be a tough old bird. And if I stop knocking things over out of focus. Yeah, so that's where we're at in terms of the engines and the fuselage. We've made some progress on those engines, substantial progress on those engines in terms of laying that perspex down. So I'm really pleased. Excuse me, my throat's dry. Should really have a drink. But the main job will be to start finessing these areas and getting the command module or the bridge section to fit snugly. So that's where we're at, and that's what we're going to do. So we'll be right back. Okay, guess what we've been doing? There we go. As I said, I was going to clear away all those contacts. I've done that. I've also, excuse me, filled in these areas here with milliput. So that brought up or elevated these sections quite a bit. I noticed that this upper part of the hull has a slightly upward slope, which the lower half of the hull doesn't compensate for, so I've had to do that with the milliput. So yes, that's what I've had to do. And also I've tidied this section up on both sides, port side, starboard. The bridge, as we can see here, fits pretty snugly. Of course there's still some filling to do, but having completed this section takes the sting out of it, so to speak. Also done some tidying up around, see if we can get into focus. Yeah, this section here, as you can see, it's a real tight fit between the hull and the vents. Rather stupidly on this side, I went right across the vents with a heavy file, which not totally obliterated the detail, but left a line which was just ghastly. Excuse me. Frog in my throat. So basically I had to get my scribing tool and rescribe these lines, this bit of detail. Yeah, it's not worked out too badly actually. I've managed to correct the mistake. Sometimes when you make these errors, no matter how much work you do to correct it, it's always going to look a mess, but in this case I think I rather got away with it. So what we're going to do here is the customary tidying up. I'm not sure if I'm going to take a power tool to this one. I just might go over it by hand. Might have a little bit more control that way. Separate these halves and show you. There we go. You can see how much that's been elevated from the original part of the hull. It's quite a few degrees actually. And a bit more so on this side. So, as I said, just a customary tidying up, and we'll be right back. Right then, this is where we're at. We're all tidied up, we're all contoured, everything's flush. This is how to tidy up. No more work needs to be done on that support now. The epoxy glue and the epoxy putty is set. Resculpted this section here. Let's see if we can get into focus. Focus. Yeah. So this has been resculpted, filled. So everything is beginning to dovetail quite nicely. Lost a wee section out of that, but that's not going to matter. All this is going to be removed. I've put that support in, so that still has time to cure. It's still very wet at the moment. But once it goes off, it'll be quite solid and immovable. That's what we want. This little radar housing, a bit of that was missing, and I actually built up the corner there. Let's see if we can focus on that so I can show you. Yeah. You get these tiny parts that are missing, and you have to get the most minuscule bits of milliputs in between. Try and build things up. You're surprised how long it actually takes to achieve that. I'm a firm believer, as I've previously stated, that the internal integrity of the model is just as important as the outside. Once you've got everything glued together, supported, you just clean up all the excess glue, all the excess putty, so you can lay down your wires neatly. You can see what you're doing that way. this has been tidied up. So all I have to do is go with that with a glaze, as I was saying earlier on. That'll be perfect. I've done a tiny bit of rescribing on these vents. I think once we lay down the primer, we might lose a bit of definition or detail, and I really don't want to do that. The whole model has to be scribed anyway, because if you look at the illustrations, the Prometheus has an awful lot of detail, panel detail, that will require one to scribe it to make her look more accurate, more authentic. Right, okay. Shall we do a test fit? What do you think? What do you think? Test fit? We'll be right back. Test fitting. I always enjoy this part. You can really see how your work is coming together. Having removed all the locator pins has resolved a great many issues in terms of the model actually fitting together. That's not to say that there aren't some that I've left, especially in the command module. I'm especially pleased with how this has worked out. Yeah, it's worked out really well. And all of this, you can see we're beginning to have continuity in the surface of the model. Now, according to Ben Proctor's illustrations of the Prometheus, all this is super detailed. Now I'm going to realise this by adding on a styrene plate that will have the detail in it. We also have lights coming through this section, which is really quite an interesting feature of the model. But she is coming together nicely. Look at that. Yeah. Fantastic Plastics done a really, really good job in realising this model and bringing it into the world. Really, really, really beginning to take shape now. Decals are ready to go. Hopefully they'll be arriving in a couple of weeks. I'm going to have to put my lighting order in tomorrow. I doubt if I'll get them before the bank holiday. But there's plenty to be getting on with in the meantime, so it's not going to be too much of a worry. Oh, just one quick note with regards to the radar installation here. Circles do not have corners. That's in reference to what I've just said previously with regards to filling in that particular section. You are a fine looking ship. Fine looking ship. There's still quite a bit to achieve on the fuselage, but we'll get there in the next video. Also, we'll be tidying up the engine, so that'll be a next feature of the next video too. But there we go. Things are coming together quite nicely. And in spite of 2 fractures, it hasn't been a disaster. So I am especially pleased in that respect. Look at that. Yay. That is so impressive. That is an impressive design. Really, really is something to look at. Right. I think on that note, oops, this will be the Prometheus signing off. See you in part 4.